Welcome to Medieval Titans crowdfunding campaign. The presentation is built in video edition mode, opposed to the records video mode where you have an arrow. In this case you don't have an arrow, but you have the advantage of the pictures and the text have a higher resolution. So we have the drawback of the arrow, but you can follow better. The presentation is made by steps, explaining parts individually, so the presentation will take longer. Any difficulty in understanding something, you can read the design document that have a deeper level of detail. The detail there is much more higher of what I can explain in here, but you have the drawback that you have to read more massive explanation. To participate in Medieval Titans, you can follow on the Indie debate development for news and updates. Now going to see the introduction of the game. It's a progressive battle arena that merges old school concepts with the new wave style of Dota games. So we have professions, which are basically a status arrangement. You have the damage roles based on old schools. For example, you can see in the bottom of the status, you can see knight, the status, and you have 1 to 40 damage, which means a character can give from 1 to 40 damage. It necessary needs that he eat high amount of damage, so the status are a bit more controllable. And since the game is progressive in all these aspects, in the left sides or in the left panel, players can create very complex roles. The mana regen is based on refresh potions. It doesn't have a high refresh rate as some games have, to create the DPS or the damage output. The damage on this game is more based on weapons, and the spells are more for control. So this is not only allow a player to design roles, but to design a bit of their own game style. Now you are going to see the loading screen, which basically explains that the game is divided into aspects. One is gold and another is the influence point. Basically, gold is for self-purchase or upgrades, and influence points are for team upgrades. For example, if you purchase a structure, you will consume influence points, and it's the influence points of the team. So another team member will lose that same amount of influence points because they are shared. So you can see that everything is progressive. You start your builds in the beginning of the game before you enter, and continue to develop it throughout the battlegrounds. So you have the professions, minions, structures, patrols, weapons, potions, spells, and magic schools. So for example, Spark has selected standard status, for example a scout, bought a imp, which is a minion, a sword, a weapon, fire, school of magic, and sprint, which is a spell. So this is just the presentation. Later we will see each of these aspects individually. For example, David Jones has bought a warrior, and they have 120 strength, 80 agility, and 50 int. He has bought 2 minions, an axe, water, magic school and the leather armor. For example, the difference, he doesn't have a spell, so it's a different style of builds that have a different type of approach to the game. Now you're going to see schools of magic. Basically, each school of magic is composed of 4 spells. The first one is the weaker one, then it scales in terms of strength and mana consumption. For example, exaltation will be the stronger spell in the fire school of magic. Spells attempt to counter one another. For example, some schools are specifically designed to counter others, and others are for team fights, others are for detection, and others are for example, stealth. So first you unlock the school of magic, then you can assess the spells inside the schools. Although schools look a bit repetitive, because for example, fire school is only based on speed, water school is only based on slow. This allows to create roles and then to create builds. You don't need to buy all the 4 spells. You unlock the school, then you can buy, for example, exaltation or in fire, and you, for example, unlock water and buy only cold wave. So this way you can mix and choose what is necessary to create a build. Since the spells are not open, you can't buy all the spells directly. They don't mix, so it creates a steady development ground. Now we are going to see schools of magic by example or by team. We have the list of schools of magic. You can see each school is based off one team. Fire is speed, self-mobility, water slow, earth resistance, air direct damage, and so on. Each school is based on 4 spells dedicated to a team. In the right side you can see 2000 gold build and a 5000 gold build. 2000 gold builds only have fire and earth. It's a build for the beginning of the game. It's a very limited build because it only have 2 types of spells, although it have 5. And the more cost builds, it's more diverse. You can do much more things. You can help the team. You can disrupt, for example, team fights, or teleport to out of a situation. So it's basically a more powerful build because you have much more available actions. Now you have minions. Basically the game is based off minions that gather resources for the player. So they gather 3 types of resources. When they have these 3 resources in the same amount, they go to the base, to a forge, and create golds. They are also progressive. You can see the status progress and the mining capability also progress. This creates a attack defense action. When you attack, your minions become vulnerable because you step away from your minions, leaving them unprotected. The structures are built to protect minions. They take some time to construct. Once constructed, they have a damage output that work a bit like the Dota. Also have door mechanics that can protect players for the more advanced buildings. And they have different abilities like detect hidden and teleport, stronger damage, more strengths. Buildings can be destroyed by players. so they are used to create defense points to protect the resources and minions. Patrols in other games like Dota are called minions. Here they are patrols. They are bought with the influence points. They have these different abilities. For example, the ogre, it's a ram, it's more directed to hit buildings, or it's a unit that once purchased can have an impact on building destruction. You have the cavalry that increase speeds, create a more mobile patrol. Have catapults, which is a more fire capable unit, but it's weaker. Usually it's designed for a team that is winning, so you upgrade your patrol and to deserve several functions. Patrols, if they are near your base, they will defend your structures. If they are near opponent buildings, they will attack opponent buildings. They control the attack defense flow. So if an opponent team can hide, let the patrol pass and then create the attack. In here it have a larger amount of time to spawn. Weapons serve a different purpose. For example, the pickaxe increase mining time. Players can also mine resources, not only minions. For example, a mace is more for defense. If you have armor, you have the bow for range damage, you have the hammer to destroy buildings, you have a saw to increase construction time, you have a sword for standard damage output, you have a very high minimum damage, you have an axe with a very high maximum damage. The maximum damage is considered the critical. The critical is don't go beyond the maximum damage, but for example, if you increase the max damage with some spells and you create a critical with a spell, for example, there are spells that designed specific for critical hit, you can give a 40 or 50 critical hits, which is basically half of the damage of the player. So sword weapons have very specific roles in the game. And now we're going to see basically enchantments, levels and professions. Professions there aren't much to talk about. We already saw that in the loading screen. Basically each of the profession is a status configuration. We have 5 levels that are built just to tweak the status of the players. In the final level we have a bit of extra bonus, and we have enchantments that don't give strength, agility or int. They give instead the direct status, so they act as a amplifier, not a bonus damage. They serve just to close some gaps or minimize some updates or status needs that the build may have. Now you're going to see potions. For example, potions gives the direct status since they are purchased with money. For example, strength give 50 strength, so they are stronger than enchantments, but they only take a certain amount of time, as enchantments take throughout the game. You have several gaps closers or stuff that weapons and spells can't handle. For example, they have a direct explosion, like a potion, a remove condition or a spell, and they have the restorations, which, for example, mana restoration, which can use to combo, as the game have a high refreshment rate. Actions. The game has based actions types. For example, it have a trap that is used to run from battles. It's a safe mechanism against, for example, hides that come also with the game, and stealth, ganging game styles. So it's a way to minimize them, but we also have a dismount trap and detect hidden to detect traps and hidden characters. We also have a recalled, a rest to restore some amount of status, but it's only used of combat. Now you're going to see the base. The base is mobile and is our armored wagon that you move around. It's have around 4 to 8 archers. Can be moved through the map to establish early push, map control, or attempt to unbalance the opponent. If the opponent doesn't construct a structure, it can be vulnerable to the wagon push, but since the wagon is also the base, if the players don't have careful, it can take a lot of damage. Since it's in the a corner of the map is a very high defensive point. If you move it around, it can become vulnerable. Then it's up to the team builds and team strategy to choose how they are going to play the wagon cards. In this next picture, you're going to see that the opponent didn't build a structure, so it became vulnerable to a wagon push. So they explore that, come with a wagon to take control of the opponent resources and build themselves a structure there. In this next picture, you can see that the opponent didn't fall for that. It attempt to create a structure, but the opponent this time rush and didn't construct a structure themselves, so they attempt to disrupt opponent structure construction using a stealth unit to attempt to kill their minions, but their patrol is coming to aid, so they don't have much time to attempt this disrupt opponent structure construction. Now we are going to see live game examples. Since all the parts were explained, you can understand more easily what's going on. A player purchases a couple of schools of magic, weapons, potions, building or a structure. Is attempting to construct. He lay down a trap for defense. It have his minions gathering resources for him. Opponents are attempting to stealth into to gank, and you can see in the tree that are the 2 levels of detection. You have a basic circle where it is very difficult to detect, and you have a larger circle which is more easy to detect, and they have the normal of range objects for hiding characters. Next picture, we can see player farming. It's using the bow, so you don't take that much damage before the minion get close to preserve his health. These monsters also give experience points, so the player can raise his levels, but since the levels are not very important in this game, they have a minimum impact on the game. It's used more to catch up than to be a major advantage in the game. In this next picture, we can see the map travel mechanics. It's this blue effect here represent the dimension gates, opposing team transporting throughout the map and ganking the player. The player, since it have a trap, and call the minion. For example, this red creature he represent a minion. Minion is also a shield player, so he can hold a bit more of damage before he dies. But it will be up for the opponent's team to attempt to control him. It's based on the spells, how they can manage to kill our opponents. In this next picture we can see a team push. You can see that these spells are a bit different in the picture. They are area spells. For example, this fields on the ground give armor and damage protection, dodge and magic resist. You can see the opponent casting a firewall on the grounds, a meteor shower, the attacking team or the team doing the push casting a defensive wall for the others don't have a range, and you see opponent moving around the wall and using an aura effect to hit them inside the fields. In this next picture we are going to see the detection. Basically it's a standard detection mechanics. You can see two beacons on the ground. It also have a map revelation, and they introduced the spirit mechanics, which is a spell that the caster cast and a walking spirit move around the map to see what the opponent is doing. The game have a strong hide and stealth you can say mechanics, but it also have a very strong detection mechanics. So in a way spells balance themselves and counter themselves, so that the player don't exploit too much just one type of spell and instead are more reactive, or they can choose different actions in different moments of the game. For example, be more centered on team, or be more centered on one-to-one fights, or center themselves on the early push, or in killing opponents and minions to make them lose the gold race. So this concludes my presentation on the Medieval crowdfunding campaign. Hope you like the game style. It's based on old school concepts and mix them with the new data wave concepts. Sorry for the English, I'm not a very well English spoken person, but hopefully you can understand. You can always read the design document or make some questions if you don't understand something. Donations will be great help to develop the game. It have a unique mechanics, and for old school players I think they will like this new approach of constructing and developing battlegrounds.